Hello everyone, welcome back to Scarecrow Joe's studio. It's crunch time, so if you're still working on some Halloween art, or if you're looking for something really simple that you could manage to get done before Halloween, this tutorial is right up your alley. Especially if you are a fan of The Nightmare Before Christmas, and in particular, this character right here, Mr. Jack Skellington. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a three-dimensional piece of wall art using paper mache clay to sculpt out the dimensions for your wall art. Very simple tutorial. This is going to be start to finish with only one segment. So let's get going. The first thing I'm doing here is I'm taking a ruler and just a pencil, and I am finding my center points both vertically and horizontally, and I'm just drawing a line with that pencil right across so that I have my my center points there. That's going to give me a reference on where I want to put, first of all, start my sketch, my rough sketch for this. I'm using a roll of masking tape here. I felt like it was the perfect size for my Jack Skellington head. And now I'm just roughly drawing in the facial features of my Jack Skellington head. So the eyes, the little nostril, where the nose will be, and then the mouth. Alright, my rough sketch is done. It just gives me a feel for what the end piece is going to look like and where I need to lay in my clay, which I'm starting on right now with the head. This is about 2 inches of clay that I'm building up for his head. Keep in mind that when you're using paper mache clay, it will shrink after it dries, so if you want it to be prominent and you want a good amount of thickness, and we do on this, as you can see, that's about 2 inches of clay that I built up on there. And after I've gotten that built up on there, I go in with my paste and my paintbrush and smooth all of that, start smoothing in that clay just with that paintbrush, because that clay is pretty lumpy, and this is the easiest way to smooth it out. And then to get it even smoother, I'm using that plastic picnic spoon there, the concave end of it, and then finishing it up with my little sculpting tool to get it extra smooth and to form it more. Now, after that's smoothed out, I'm just taking my handy little sculpting tool there, and I'm beginning to form the indentations of Jack's eye sockets. I want him to have some pretty big eyes, and I want them to be kind of sunken in to give that three-dimensional feel to it. So I'm just using my fingers as well, going in with my fingers and some paste and smoothing out those areas there. Just really making sure that I have a good indentation, and that there you can see how deep of the eye sockets I got those in there. So as you can see off camera, I pressed in the nostril holes as well as the mouth and created those lines or those stitches that Jack has in his mouth. And created the neck there. I laid in some clay, and as you can see, I'm just bulking up his torso area. I decided to go with a diamond shaped instead of just the straight down, up and down, vertical look to him. I just thought it would be a little bit more interesting. So I'm just laying in the clay. Keep in mind that when you are continuing on with your sculpt and you're laying in your clay, make sure you get all of it to the same thickness that you have on your head. So basically, a couple inches or so of clay. So I'm just kind of forming it with my fingers there, and I'm going to go in with some more paste and my paintbrush, smooth in all of those areas with the paste and the paintbrush.
And then after that, I'll go in again with some of my sculpting tools, smoothing it in, forming it a little bit more. I do use a couple of different sculpting tools here in this tutorial. And I'll show you that in a minute, but off camera again, I did form the bow tie or the bat head for his bow tie, just using a lump of clay and just kind of forming it into that shape, and then just laying it on top of the neck area there, and just shaping it with my fingers, making it into a point. And I'll go in again with some paste and my paintbrush, smooth that area out. And here's my other sculpting tool. It's just a rubber tipped little sculpting tool. And then back to my little yellow plastic sculpting tool. And here's a different angle here so you can see the thickness on these areas. Then carrying on here, I'm going to start creating the rest of the bow tie. Trying to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm just making coils of clay, and I'm just going to attach them to these areas around where the bat head is, and just kind of making it a little bit more interesting with curving it out so that it kind of looks like it's flowing a little bit. So, and as always, going back over each one of these, smoothing them out with the paste, and then using my sculpting tools to smooth them out even further. You can get these sculpting tools pretty cheap here. And then I'm continuing on with some coils, and I'm creating a definition of where his shirt would be underneath his tuxedo jacket that he wears. So just want to make it so it's a little bit more pronounced and has a definition where there's a point where there's a shirt underneath his jacket. And there's the completed sculpt there. I went in and pressed in the lines for his tuxedo jacket, and I pressed in the eye sockets for that little bat head as well.
All right, so I allowed this to dry for a couple of days, so I'm ready for paint. But before I start painting, a couple of things that I want to address, because I kind of made a mess here with my paste. I got it all over the board. And if you recall, one of the last things that I did was I covered in those two holes that were pre-drilled in to this plaque here, because I wanted it to hang vertically if I choose to hang it. So I covered those in with the paper mache clay. So I want to smooth it all out. And by doing that, really simple, I'm going to take a piece of fine grain sandpaper and just kind of sand all of those areas so that I have a nice smooth surface. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and take some white latex interior primer. And base it all out in that primer. You can use white paint if you want. I just happen to have primer, so I'm going to base it out in the primer. And let that dry before I start painting. By basing it out all in white, I'll have a nice, clean piece of art to start applying some more colored paint to. So that's coming up next. All right, I'm basically only going to be using 3 different colors of paint. I have black and white. And then I also mixed up my own color of a dark purple, using a dark blue and red to make my purple paint. These are all acrylic craft paint. And then let me bring this up a little closer. I drew in some lines in my background, vertical lines going all the way down. And I'm going to start on my background first. So, just I think first I'm going to start with white paint. And I'm not really going to cover up too much of the lines, but I do want to get white paint all the way in all of these areas here. I am going to go back in and put in some black and kind of blend in some black in these areas as well, and use some of that dark purple paint for my background as well. So the reason that I'm just applying the white paint is to kind of allow me to get in there and easily blend in a little bit of my black paint in there, which will cause some of it to become a gray coloration. And then also in some areas, not in all of it, and you'll see what I have in mind, but I'll use the purple and kind of fade in some purple as well. And eventually you won't be able to see my pencil lines that I've made, because those will be covered up. All right, I have that light coating of just the acrylic craft paint. And then using a different brush here, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of my black paint. Let's start on the ends. If you're using this technique to kind of make it look like a weathered or kind of a worn background, you know, acrylic paint does dry very quickly. Not a big deal, because you could go in with just a little bit of your white. And where those lines are, I am going to go in and redefine them with just some black paint. But I'm going to carry on and kind of antique this out in this black paint here. Okay, so I have my initial background painted out. And when I put my lines in there, you can't see the pencil lines any longer. So honestly, that was kind of a waste of time for me to go in and put those lines in. I'm just going to do it by hand, pretty much like I always do. But I've said this before, and I will remind you guys that I am not the best painter in the world. You will probably do a much better paint job on your piece than I will. But anyway, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my paintbrush that I had the white on, and I'm just going to go in. I just want to see how this looks. This might come out looking kind of horrible, but I don't know. I just want a little bit of like purple gradation in some of the areas, so that's what I'm kind of going for. You can totally just leave this monochromatic using black and white grays. You know, if that's what you want to do, you could totally do that and not put any of these other colors in here at all. But I wanted it to just have a little more pop of color. So I decided on the purple. All right, that's not too bad. I like that little bit of purple in there. I didn't go crazy with it. So I do kind of like that background. I am going to put in those stripes back in there using the black paint. But before I do that, I want to put a little bit of fading with and just make around the border here a little bit darker. So I'm going to use paintbrush here, basically kind of like a dry brushing technique. And I'm just going to go around just the edges. So it creates just a little bit more of a border. All right, so I have all those edges kind of blended in a little bit with that black border that I put around it. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to use a pretty thin paintbrush, and I'm just going to go in and kind of put those lines back in. All right. I think that looks kind of cool. I'm going to let that dry. And then once that is completely dry, I'm going to come back and paint the actual Jack Skellington character. I'm going to start with the eyes, the inside of those eyes. And pretty simple, it's just going to be black. And I have a very fine paintbrush here, and I'm going to use this fine paintbrush to put in the black markings in between his teeth, and then also his nostrils. All right, I'm going to go ahead and carry on with painting the bat bow tie and his suit jacket here. So the bat, basically the bat bow tie, that's all going to be black. I think I am going to put maybe the eye sockets for the bat. Maybe I'll put some red in there for the eye sockets. But yeah, pretty simple. I'm just again, cheap black acrylic craft paint on this, and I'm going to take my time and just go in and paint all this stuff. All right. Give you a look at them here from the side. From that angle. Came out pretty good. I'm pleased with it. Simple project. Last thing I want to do on this guy here is take him outside and spray him with a spray polyurethane or spar polyurethane. Comes in a spray can. If you watch some of my other tutorials, you know the product that I use. No, he's not going to go outside, so I'm not really worried about him getting wet or anything. However, using that sealant, it also will make the colors pop and just make the coloration a lot more vibrant on him. It's a good product to use to seal your art with, whether you're going to hang it outside or just display it inside. And on that note, I didn't really get into displaying your piece of art. You could purchase a little stand if you wanted to display them on a little stand like that and put them on a tabletop, or of course you can hang them on your wall. I did not attach anything to hang him on a wall, but that's probably what I'm going to do. You can go down to the hardware store and get little clips that you could either fasten on there using a screwdriver, or honestly, this is a small piece and it's pretty lightweight. You could I wouldn't hot glue. I mean, I would probably use some like crazy glue or something like that, Loctite glue. Glue your little bracket, hanging bracket on there, and then you can just hang it on your wall if you have a nail in the wall. Or you can just simply take some jute string and glue some jute string and in a loop, and then you can hang it on your wall that way. But anyway, I hope you found the tutorial helpful and easy. I mean, it is one of the easiest ones I have done so far on this channel. It definitely, you could get this done before Halloween. On the sculpt, it really took me less than a half an hour to do the sculpt. The rest is just letting it dry, of course, and then painting. But anyway, that concludes this tutorial. I have maybe one more coming up before Halloween. We'll see what I can get done. But as always, I thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.